My name is Sarah J. Ferrara, and I am 34 years old. When my mom said, "We're staying local this year," I believed her. She said it with that careful tone she uses when she wants everyone to nod along without questions. No trips, no big plans, just hanging around the house and doing little things nearby. She even sounded proud of it, like it was a mature decision the whole family made together. I didn't argue. Honestly, I felt relieved. It was the first time in years they hadn't tried to gently nudge me into another expensive group vacation that somehow always ended up fully charged to me. Last year it was Maui. The year before that, Aspen. Flights, villas, rental cars, dinners, excursions, all quietly absorbed by my credit cards because I was doing well and it was nothing for me. I told myself it was family. I told myself generosity was a virtue. That was my mistake. So when they said we were staying local, I booked a solo trip instead. Telluride, a quiet lodge, books I'd been meaning to read, my work phone on silent. Peace felt close for the first time in years. Thursday morning, I was sitting in the lodge lounge with coffee when I opened Instagram. I wasn't looking for anything, just scrolling, letting my mind drift. That's when I saw it. A photo Cassidy had posted. The whole family on the deck of a white yacht, blue ocean behind them, champagne glasses raised. The caption read something about spontaneous moments and family bonding. My stomach tightened. I zoomed in, not fully sure why, until I saw it. Near the bar in the background, half hidden by a fruit tray, was my black leather travel wallet, the one with my monogram stamped in gold, the one that should have been locked in my drawer back home. I closed Instagram and opened my banking app. Charges were still rolling in. A spa bill, over $3,000, a marina charter, a captain's tip, high-end restaurants, designer boutiques. They had taken my wallet, boarded a yacht, and left me out on purpose. Not by accident, not confused, deliberately. I didn't call. I didn't text. I opened my laptop and started shutting everything down. I didn't rush it. That was the strangest part. My hands were steady as I logged into every account, like my body already knew this moment had been coming. I flagged the transactions one by one, not angrily, just precisely. Each charge marked unauthorized. Each vendor noted. I froze the travel wallet entirely, shut down the card, and requested a full audit. Then I called the resort directly and told them there had been fraudulent use tied to my name. The woman on the phone confirmed the guest list without hesitation. Same names I'd just seen smiling on that yacht. I closed my laptop and waited. The first alert came less than an hour later, a declined charge at a marina restaurant, then another at a boutique, then a bigger one, a failed attempt to settle their resort suite. By noon, their room access had been locked pending payment. By mid-afternoon, the charter captain refused to release their luggage. The fraud team pinged the location. They were still docked at Bimini Bay, stuck. At 9:46 p.m., my phone buzzed. Cassidy, in all caps. Did you really just do that? I stared at it for a second, then typed back one word. Interest. They'd treated me like an ATM for so long they'd forgotten ATMs can shut down. The next morning felt eerie. 5 missed calls, no texts, all voicemails. I let my coffee brew before listening to any of them. I wasn't going to let their panic set my tone. My mom's voicemail came first. No hello, no apology. She said they were experiencing a really unfortunate financial situation and asked if I could just fix the card thing so they could get back on track. Fix the card thing. Like I'd tripped over a wire by accident. Like my wallet hadn't traveled across the Caribbean without me. Cassidy's message tried a different angle. She laughed it off, said they hit a little snag and would really appreciate a quick transfer to clear things up. She made it sound like borrowing cab fare after a concert. Still no mention of taking my wallet. No acknowledgement of theft. Just the assumption I'd be a good sport and bail them out. My Uncle Peter sounded annoyed more than scared. He lectured me about how families handle internal issues privately and how punishment isn't the way we solve things. Internal issues was his phrase for identity theft. Bold, even for him. The last voicemails followed the same script. Guilt, manipulation, inconvenience. My aunt needed help getting back to Florida. One of the twins asked why their card stopped working when they tried to book a ferry off the island. I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I opened this family group chat and scrolled through years of noise. Birthdays, holiday plans, Arguments about who forgot napkins at the barbecue. Performative closeness layered over quiet entitlement. Then I left the group without saying a word. The emails started soon after. We need to talk. Please call me. And then the one that told me everything I needed to know. You've made your point. My mom wrote a long message about how hurt she was, how I humiliated the family, how I'd acted like a stranger. She said this wasn't how she raised me, and that we solve things privately in this family. Privately stealing from your daughter and partying on a yacht apparently counted. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to my lawyer. I'd been preparing for this longer than they realized. After Vegas, after the promises to pay me back that evaporated the moment we landed, I'd drafted a separation agreement. No shared access, no assumed permission, no financial obligations. A clause outlining what happens in the event of theft or fraud. It had been sitting there, waiting. My lawyer reviewed it and asked if I wanted to serve them. I said not yet. Instead, I replied to my mom with a single email. Subject, closure. Body. You are no longer authorized to use my accounts, cards, or financial information. Everything is closed. You're on your own now. Good luck getting home. I didn't block anyone. I wanted them to feel it. To sit on that dock with no plan and no credit line and no safety net. I spent the rest of the day walking through Telluride, breathing mountain air, letting the quiet settle. By nightfall, the messages stopped. But I knew they weren't done. It started with a Facebook post. Cassidy again. A blurry photo of palm trees and ocean with a caption about people choosing money over family. No names, just bait. I screenshotted it and saved it to the folder I was building. Petty, maybe. Necessary, definitely. The next day, my uncle texted. He said they were stuck with no way off the island, sleeping in a lobby, luggage held as collateral. He warned me I didn't want this to get ugly. That was the first honest message I'd gotten. They were scared. Then my mom finally acknowledged the wallet. She said she found it in a drawer and figured it was one I didn't use anymore. She said they didn't intend to deceive me and thought I wouldn't mind since I wasn't using the trip myself, like my money was a community pantry. Then she pivoted, offering me shares in a new family LLC, pitching a travel venture while stranded and broke. I read it 3 times. Even now, they were selling me a fantasy. That night, Cassidy's friend messaged me asking if I could help them get back to the States. 1 flight, 1 transfer. Just enough to be safe. I didn't reply. I called the resort instead. The guests under my name were still locked out. Security had been called when they tried to bluff their way into a second room. They were broken, not just caught. Broken. So I made one last move. I posted a photo of myself by the lodge fire, mountains in the background, a drink in hand. Caption. Sometimes peace begins when the noise stops. No names, no drama. Cassidy liked it by accident, then unliked it 30 seconds later. 3 days later, she sent me a Venmo request for $4,000 titled Back Pay. I declined it without comment. The storm wasn't over yet, but the silence between thunderclaps told me the worst had already passed. The next message didn't come from my family. It came from someone I hadn't spoken to in over a year, my ex. The breakup had been messy, not because of us, but because my family had pulled him into their chaos the same way they pulled everyone else in. They borrowed money without telling me. They guilted him when I said no. It was part of why we didn't survive. Now, suddenly he was checking on me, saying Cassidy had reached out to him, claiming I'd had some kind of breakdown, that I'd cut the family off out of nowhere and might need help. I sent him a screenshot of my fraud report. He never replied. Then the article showed up. A local blog, one of those anonymous tip-driven sites that thrive on half-truths and outrage, ran a piece about an entitled professional abandoning her struggling family overseas. No names, no direct accusations, just enough detail to be unmistakable. The comments split immediately, half calling me heartless, half asking why a family would be using someone's credit cards without permission in the first place. I didn't comment. I didn't share it. I didn't defend myself. I already had something better. When I shut the cards down, I'd requested a full itemized fraud report. Every swipe, every vendor, every location. Time-stamped. Some of the receipts included signatures. Cassidy had signed one with a little heart next to her name. It was sloppy, bold, and undeniable. I printed everything and put it in a binder, not because I planned to sue, but because I knew this wasn't over and facts were the only language that ever stopped them. A physical letter arrived a few days later, which surprised me more than anything else. It was from my Aunt Janine, mailed from a shelter in Miami. She wrote that she hadn't known the wallet was stolen, that my mom and uncle planned the trip behind my back and told everyone it was already paid for. She said when things fell apart, Cassidy panicked and turned on everyone. Janine took the first flight out alone and was living in a shared room now, trying to start over. She ended the letter by saying I was right to cut them off and that they would try to twist the story any way they could. I didn't reply, but I kept the letter. Then my uncle tried again. An email titled, "Let's Be Civil." 2 paragraphs of faux peace about rebuilding trust, followed by an ask. His youngest was at risk of being kicked out of school for unpaid tuition. Could I step in just this once and show leadership for the family? Leadership. Like I was managing a failing team, not dealing with people who stole from me. I didn't respond. Instead, I looked up the school's donor list. My name was on it. I'd paid the last 2 years quietly when they said they'd exhausted every option. Back then, it felt generous. Now it felt like I'd been underwriting a con. Their lawyer called next, carefully rehearsed, asking about shared financial history and implying my mother felt entitled to restitution for my sudden withdrawal of support. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was pathetic. I told him to speak to my lawyer. That ended the call. 2 days later, an old college friend in private banking messaged me. She said my uncle tried to open a line of credit with me listed as cosigner, and it was flagged because of the fraud alert. She thought I should know. Then Cassidy's ex-boyfriend reached out, someone I'd met once years ago. He said she was couch hopping, blaming everyone but herself, telling people I'd used money to control the family. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Cassidy finally called me directly. I let it ring once before answering. She didn't say hello. She launched into it, saying they were falling apart, that no one was helping anyone, that Janine stopped replying, that my mom was selling furniture to stay afloat. Then she said the line she thought would break me. You're punishing people who were always broken. Like that excused everything. Like theft was acceptable because they'd normalized it. I stayed silent until she hung up. 3 weeks passed, long enough for the noise to fade, but not long enough for them to stop trying. Then I saw the GoFundMe. Help Us Rebuild. Family in Crisis. A photo of my mom in a hospital waiting room. Vague language about financial abuse and abandonment. No yacht. No stolen wallet. Donations rolled in. I could have reported it. I didn't. I sent the link to Janine instead. A week later, she replied with one sentence. I'm not part of that anymore. That's when I met with my estate planner. I revised everything. Wills, trusts, power of attorney, every family member removed, no inheritances, no fallback rights, clauses barring contests. Then I created a new beneficiary, a scholarship fund for first-generation college students without family support, students like me, before I thought family was supposed to mean something else. I wrote a letter explaining why, not for guilt or revenge, but for clarity. A record. Then I went back to Nassau. Same island, same marina, different side of the coast. I stood where their cards first declined and felt nothing. No anger, no triumph, just distance. I ordered a drink, tipped well, and watched boats drift by. They thought I'd wait. I didn't. Distance has a way of sharpening things. When the noise finally thinned out, what remained was desperation, exposed and unflattering. The GoFundMe stayed up for a while, long enough to gather sympathy from people who didn't know the story and didn't ask questions. Cassidy shared it relentlessly, reframing everything as abandonment and cruelty, painting herself as the caretaker left holding the mess. My mom's photo in a hospital waiting room did most of the work for her. It was effective. It was also dishonest. I didn't intervene. I watched it like a weather system passing through, knowing storms burn themselves out when there's nothing left to feed them. What surprised me was how quickly they turned on each other. Janine stayed gone. My uncle stopped emailing after my lawyer replied once with a reminder that further contact would be routed through counsel. My mom's lawyer tried again, implying shared expectations, shared history, shared need. My lawyer answered with documents, fraud reports, signed receipts, the audit trail. Silence followed, It always does when fantasies meet paper. Then came the attempt to use my name again. A bank flagged a cosign request tied to my uncle's business, auto-denied because of the fraud alert. Another quiet call from a friend in finance. Another thank you. Another door closed. They kept trying to rebuild the scaffolding they'd relied on, not realizing the foundation was gone. Cassidy's podcast launched. A week later, resilience, healing, toxic dynamics. I listened to one episode out of curiosity and turned it off when the tears arrived on cue. She never mentioned the yacht, or the wallet, or the signatures. She didn't have to. Her audience didn't want facts. They wanted a villain. I wasn't interested in auditioning. The family lawyer tried one last time, framing it as mediation. My response was a calendar invite that never got accepted. After that, the messages slowed to a trickle. The GoFundMe vanished. Someone reported it. I didn't ask who. Janine wrote again, a brief note about Oregon rain and a new job that paid on time. We kept it that way. I took another trip, then another. Quiet places. Early mornings. No cell service where it mattered. I learned how my days feel without bracing for requests, without the soft pressure of expectations disguised as love. The absence felt like relief, then like habit, then like home. They tried one more thing at the end of the month, a tuition plea, routed through a third party, phrased as charity. I declined it with the same steadiness I'd used all along. I wasn't punishing anyone. I was opting out. By then, the story they told about me had thinned too. It's hard to keep a narrative alive when the person you're blaming doesn't respond. Harder still when your own attempts keep failing publicly and quietly. They needed me to react. I didn't. It's strange how silence changes shape over time. At first it's loud, full of echoes and what-ifs, but eventually it settles into something steady. I stopped checking social media. I stopped waiting for the next plea or threat. I stopped bracing. When I realized I could go a whole day without thinking about them, it felt like crossing a border without anyone noticing. Janine and I kept in touch in small, honest ways. Short emails, weather updates, a book recommendation. She never asked for money, never hinted. She didn't defend them either. She just built a life that didn't require my approval or my accounts. It made me proud of her in a quiet way, the kind that doesn't need a reply. Cassidy tried rebranding again. New photos, new captions, a softer tone. The podcast sputtered and faded. When people stopped donating and started asking questions, the comments slowed, then stopped. Entitlement doesn't survive scrutiny. It needs an audience that won't look too closely. My mom disappeared into whatever story she needed to tell herself. Maybe she still believes I'll come around. Maybe she believes I was always going to abandon them. I don't know. I don't ask. I deleted the family group chat, the shared albums, the saved contacts. Not out of anger, out of space. You can't heal in a room where everyone keeps moving the furniture back. I redirected what I used to spend on them into things that actually grew. Travel, yes, but also work that mattered. I finalized the scholarship fund and set the first award date. First-generation students. No safety net. No one to call when things get hard. I know that feeling. It felt right to build something that didn't demand gratitude or obedience in return. I went back to Nassau one last time, not to prove anything, just to close the loop. Same marina, same cafe where their card first declined. I ordered a drink, tipped well, and watched boats come and go. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel triumph. I felt done. They thought I'd wait, that I'd panic, that I'd fold to keep the story pretty. They thought money meant control and family meant access. They were wrong on both counts. My name is Sarah J. Ferrara. I didn't destroy anything. I stopped funding an illusion. When the illusion collapsed, the truth stood on its own. Family isn't a debt, it's a choice. And once I saw how easily trust could be traded for comfort and champagne on a stolen card, I made mine. I walked away. I didn't leave a trail. And for the first time in years, the quiet feels like mine.